Thank you, Jivile. Good morning, dear guests. Of course, I'm not very directly connected to the agri-food. You know, of course, I like to eat deliciously, as most of you. But in general, of course, not everything is so simple how it could look. The eyes could look from the beginning, yeah. Okay, so I'm very honored, of course, to say one of the first speeches here in this forum, which is already 6th forum. And it looks like really more and more I understand about agri-food, and of course we try to do the influence from the industry side. The task of this session, first session of the forum, is to discuss how, of course thanks to the partnership for the cooperation, to ignite the engines of increasing the sustainability, fast implementation of innovations and competitiveness, the agri-food sector. Of course, we can say that they are not ignited, but we want to add some nitrous oxide fuel, I think. Therefore, I will start my report with a statement that should become the mantra not only for the agri-food sector, but also of any industrial sector of the country. Don't procrastinate, innovate. And innovation is needed not only for the creation of goods and services, they are needed for creating the new forms of partnerships and cooperation, more efficient processes, and of course faster processes. Today, time is a very important component of the long-term global competitiveness of the European Union and of course our Lithuania. And recently we have been very fond of discussing a lot of and widely about the innovations they have and why it is important to solve the labor productivity problems of agri-food sector and of course other sectors. The importance for the future competitiveness of the European Union was also emphasized by Mr. Mario Draghi in his report, which I think you already read during the last few months, which should be considered a source of inspiration Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen, the new 2024-2029 term priorities. Mrs. von der Leyen highlights the following 6 priorities that will be given more attention during her new era. First, make business easier and deepen on our single market. I think nobody can argue that. Second, build a clean industrial deal to decarbonize and bring down energy prices. Finally, we are not only talking about generation of renewable energy, but also it's about global competitive prices. About 75% agriculture equipment and machinery in the world uses diesel. Agriculture consumes about 13% of entire world's diesel. It will be not possible fast and quickly to replace its fuel, because no one can simply give up all the diesel-powered equipment next year and simply buy another fuel-powered equipment. And we are not talking about the old diesel Golf, you know, to say through Volkswagen Golf. We are talking about basically replacing the combine harvesters, which can cost minimum, I think, €500,000. Not everyone can invest such money quickly. Therefore, we still have a long and rather complicated process of decarbonizing agriculture energy ahead of us. If in November of this year in the world, the average price of diesel was 1.1 euros per liter, which means that is in all the largest agriculture and food producing countries, they are lower than in the European Union countries. Of course, it's maybe not the best example, but in Russia it's 0.6 euros per liter, United States 0.87, China 0.9, Brazil 1 euro, Ukraine 1.26 euros per liter, Argentina 1.2, and so on and so on. In Lithuania it's 1.4 euros per liter, in Poland a little bit more, in Germany 1.6 euros per liter, in France 1.7. Such numbers show one thing, we have a lot of work and very urgently. It's not the same competitive prices for all of us. Third, put research and innovation at the head of our economy. This is a huge change and a step towards taking the European Union's competitiveness bull by the horns. In recent years, about 60% of all patents in the field of agriculture and nanotechnology was registered in China. In the United States, only 8%. There are no European Union countries leading in terms of registered patents in agriculture. In terms of spending of research and development, of share from the GDP, in comparison, in a whole economy, China has already overtaken the European Union, and I think it will chase the United States quite aggressively. While the European Union allocates about 2.2% from GDP for research and development, China is already doing 2.5%. United States, 3.5% of GDP. Interesting figures. Fourth, both productivity with digital tech diffusion. Studies show that digitalization contributes significantly to the export of products, especially in the countries of the Eastern and Central European Union. This is very important for the European Union and Lithuania because the export value of goods and services in Lithuania reaches around 80% from GDP. And in the European Union, it's only about 50%. The export of Lithuanian agri-food sector goods accounts for an average of 23% from the total GDP of the entire country's export of Lithuanian origin. Fifth, invest massively in our sustainable competitiveness. I don't know if there is anything more to add here. Maybe just that what is estimated that in order for the European Union to catch up with the labor productivity indicators of the United States, it needs to allocate not less than 800 billion euros annually as additional investment. And here we have to understand that having money in the short terms does not solve the problem. There must be an agriculture who wants to invest and sees the perspective, sure of the future competitiveness. And we are now starting to lack that certainly in the European Union market. Looking at the intended reduction of corporate taxes from 21 to 20% or even 15% and increase the import duties, super forecasters believe that the most likely import tariffs will be increased between 10 and 15% for all countries except China, which will be honored with a 60% of duties, tariffs in the United States. Once, if Donald Trump will be sworn in as a president, and he will be, high labor costs in the European Union itself and the already mentioned high energy prices, the desire to diversify investments geographically will probably only increase. Well, the mobility of agriculture is limited by the immovability of the land, but the food sector can move more easily. Finally, not less important, tackle the skills and labor gap. According to the United Nations research, around 1.2 billion people in the world working in the agri-food sector. In the European Union, they are about 11% of the total population. From this 11%, 50% working in agriculture sector and other 50% in the food industry. The sector is suffering from the same problems as all sectors in European Union and of course Lithuania. Lack of workers, lack of skills. However, lack of skills is even worse in agriculture. Most farm managers in the European Union only have practical experience. This is the case for 7 in every 10, or let's say 70% of them. Only 1 in 10, or let's say 10%, of farm managers had full agriculture training, and the rest had basic agricultural training. Only a few members of states have relatively high proportions of the farm managers with full agriculture training. And of course, this is the leaders. This is the Netherlands with a 62%, Luxembourg 53%, France 38%, and Czech Republic 35%. Even more, the agri-food sector is also suffering from the image of hard and romantic work, when the image is so significant for today's younger generation. Thus, energy, innovation, labor productivity, availability of the capital and talent are the success factors of the agri-food sector if we root out the bureaucracy in these factors. I forgot my slide. Could you change the next one slide? Thank you very much. Thank you, Živile. I started off so nicely. Long but nice. And here is a complicated scheme for you created by OECD. See the picture in the second slide. Until now, you may have thought that I see everything very simple and that Ms. Ursula von der Leyen tasks in the agri-food sector are very simple and easy to achieve. Nothing like that. The ignition and success of innovations and investments in them depends on the work, effective cooperation between all the individual interested parties depicted in this scheme. Fortunately, at least here, the agri-food sector companies are the center of this whole scheme. But in life, we know very well that everything does not always go smoothly and wrongly, that government institutions start to occupy the center positions in the sector, or scientific institutions that create innovations that have no potential for commercialization move away from their essence. Thus, we need for breakthrough complexity and find the way to embrace simplicity in all of that. We have to make whatever it takes to agri-food sector to get whatever it needs. Okay, my final slide. First of all, the agri-food sector is not an island in the middle of the ocean. Horizontal within the sector, vertical cooperation, all supply chains, and within a whole innovation ecosystem. It is a must. Innovation needed not just for the products, they are needed for our cooperation, collaboration, and roles to be upgraded and integrated. I just want to repeat, don't procrastinate, let's innovate. Thank you very much. Once more, very nice to see all of you there.